This is Greg Miller from the Beckenham Neighbourhood Association. Welcome indeed.
Thank you. Right, I've just got a couple of points I wanted to touch on briefly and then two items to discuss in a bit more detail. Firstly, in previous years we have made submissions that we believe that rates for emissions for earthquake affected, for properties that have had residents have to leave due to earthquake damage should be 100% remission, and I'd just like to note that there have been some comments made lately that similar things should apply to people who have been forced to leave their houses due to flooding, and we would be supportive of that, and again believe we should be looking at 100% rates remission in those cases. The other one I just wanted to touch on briefly is in relation to customer services, which was item 21 in our submission. There's a proposal to cut back, get rid of the Saturday opening hours of customer service counters such as we've got at the Beckenham Service Centre. We are opposed to this because we find that it's extremely valuable for people who are unable to get in there during the normal working hours. The Beckenham Service Centre and the library there is a great hub for the local community for that whole side of town, and it's really great for us to be able to get in there, collect mail, liaise with the service centre staff there during the weekend. Now, the main points I wanted to discuss, so our item 5 relating to stormwater flood protection and control works. Obviously, since we made our submission last month, things have deteriorated somewhat again, so I won't dwell on the problem, and we're very appreciative of the Council's efforts with the task force to get some temporary measures up and running, and we're quite keen to work with Council to ensure that proceeds as efficiently as possible. The main concern we've got is the ongoing, what we see as the inadequacy of the existing stormwater infrastructure. There's a lot of demand that we see being placed on the system due to recent and upcoming development in the southwest area of Christchurch. And so we believe that the flooding that we've seen recently isn't just due to changes in the river with the earthquakes or increased rainfall. There's a huge amount of extra development in that area, and we don't believe that the infrastructure that was set up to cater for that at the design stage is adequate. And we believe that's leading to some of the serious flooding effects we're seeing at the moment. So what we really want to see is a thorough investigation of the infrastructure at the moment, look at all the things that are in place, such as the retention basins there, which we don't believe to be entirely effective or adequate in their capacity, and looking at really what could be done, first of all, to get the infrastructure to a stage now where the existing developments in the southwest area don't have any adverse impact on the flooding of the Heathcote River. And that may be through looking at the retention basins, monitoring how they perform, whether they're of an adequate size, and if there's any way that they can be improved at that source, or if it's better to look at the cross-section of the river, how we can improve flows through the river and get more water out to sea. And really, only once we have investigated that and rectified any shortfall would we like to see proposals approved for any additional developments in that area. And again, we'd expect to see that the stormwater mitigation measures that were put in place at that time were reviewed and were guaranteed to be adequate to cope, to ensure that their effect on the water levels in the river is neutral, really. In the past, we've had discussions with Council about the impact of southwest area developments, and they've said to us that in their belief they're designed to be of neutral impact and if anything possibly a positive impact, and we really don't believe that's the case. And so we appreciate that the infrastructure costs in this area are already high, the development contribution costs for new developments are high, but really that's just the nature of approving new developments in an area that is literally already bursting at the seams or the banks. The other item I just wanted to touch on very briefly is the Mid-Heathcote River Master Plan, which in page 95, item 1410, it was some provision for some funding there in the 3-year plan, which has been deleted. Just very briefly, the background of this, so the Mid-Heathcote Linear Park was a proposal to look at the health of the river and plantings and utilisation of the areas of land alongside the river. really creating a park that would follow the Heathcote River, in this case all the way from Colombo Street right around to Apawa Road, and it was creating an area that would look at things such as traffic calming and planting and improving quality of life in the river, and creating a park that people were free to enjoy. So we're disappointed to see funding for this cut. One thing that we would suggest is a lot of work that has to go on around the river anyway. We've got, obviously, it's the flood mitigation measures at the moment, both temporary and hopefully some permanent ones coming up. There are the cycleways, which one of the proposed cycleways follows much the same area as the Mid-Heathcote Master Plan. There's also issues with water quality and pollution and overflows of sewage into the river. And of course the ongoing repairs that are being undertaken by Skirt along the river. And we think that really with the amount of expenditure that's going on there anyway, it would make sense to at least go through the design stage of a master plan so that we've got something there that can be referred to inform design of each of these individual elements. We're constantly seeing work being done in isolation along the river, people coming along, fixing individual things, and it's often done without any global view of really what is in the best interests of the river and what we can work to get to what we're looking to long term with this master plan. And obviously we may need to revisit the design of the original plan because some of it is perhaps not in the best interests of some of the flooding effects we're seeing at the moment, particularly thinking of things like planting and treatment of riverbanks. Right, so that's all I've got to say.
I just want to commend the Beckenham Neighbourhood Association itself for the work that you've done on the survey with regards to the flooding and its effect on that community and those individuals as well. So thank you very much for that. It's a great piece of work to put into the Flood Task Force. You mentioned about the Mid-Heathcote linear plan, and that will change, I think, with regards to the focus more on flooding than ecology around those river banks. But there is a lot of work that we have to do on those terraces around there, whether it's Fifield, Riverlaw, or all the Waimea. So I think there's a really good discussion to have with staff in a workshop or something moving forward, because it is very important. We've been waiting a long time for it. Yes. It was fantastic in its original. We've obviously had some changes since then, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it would be really nice to get that moving forward in some way, shape or form. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
My questions would also kind of like to involve Greg in some discussion about some of the points that you've raised, Greg, and thank you for your excellent submission. But just so that you know, our council made a clear decision to have the impact of those the southwest Henderson's Basin and the downflow, to have that investigated. So we are looking at that. But your point, and I think it's important that as councillors we take your point about the Mid-Heathcote master plan. You'll be aware, Greg, that included in the plan was scope for improving the river banks and improving the river flow. So we'll take that on board. And certainly thank you for your comments in relation to how some of the work that Skirt are doing needs to be aligned with river improvement. But you might like to comment on my comments as well, because I'm aware they weren't hard questions.
Yeah, I guess we would really be supportive of just at least some design stage input there in terms of the master plan, so we can have some comment on there's a huge amount of money being spent on just repairing services and roads, paths and river edges and things, and the cost of a design to make sure it's done in a way that is with some sort of consistent plan is fairly insignificant when compared to the actual cost of reinstating that infrastructure. So it'd be good to see that we could add some value to what is really essential expenditure anyway, get some extra value out of it.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, really good submission. And I know on item 28 you've talked about spending on big ticket items, and you make a point around the Avon and the Heathcote. The Avon getting a lot more favours than the Heathcote. Do you think we should be asking government, in terms of the 100 million that they're spending on the Avon precinct through the central city, to consider, I mean, they've offered to help us with the flooding. We know that the Skirt works isn't aligned to the master plan works. Do you think we should be asking government to maybe spend less in the central city and put some of that money towards things like the mid-linear Heathcote improvement plan.
Yes. Yeah.
No, but it's,
And I guess one of our concerns is that historically and at the moment, the Heathcote does seem to be somewhat ignored when you look at the amount of money that is spent on projects to enhance and improve the Avon. There are a lot of areas around the Heathcote where maintenance is minimal. There's already been discussion of dredging and programs such as that over the years have lapsed. And I think first and foremost, we just want the river to be healthy. We want it to stop flooding, and anything else we can get beyond that would be great.
question was,
Great, thank you.